Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of Malcolm, who's been supporting this channel as a general tier patron. And I truly couldn't do this without the support from amazing patrons like Malcolm. So again, Malcolm, thank you so much. And for the personalized deck tech, Malcolm chose Soundwave Sonic Spy with a build around Mirror Box / Mirror Gallery, getting several legendary tokens out of Soundwave. So yeah, I absolutely love that idea for a build. This one was really excited to actually put together. So let's jump into the deck, starting off with the commander, which of course is Soundwave Sonic Spy. A 5/4 ledger artifact robot that costs 1 white, blue, black, but we can also more than meets the eye for 2 white, blue, black, basically cast converted for that cost. It says whenever one or more creature tokens you control deal combat damage to a player, exile target instant sorcery card with mana value equal to the damage dealt from their graveyard. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost. If you do, convert Soundwave. So basically, hey, let's get some tokens through, let's hit our opponents, and let's cast things out of their graveyard equal to the damage. Now, there's going to be quite a few Soundwaves in play, and we'll get to that here in a little bit, but before we do, let's flip it over to the back with the converted side, Soundwave Superior Captain. A ledger artifact that says, whenever you cast a spell with an odd mana value, convert Soundwave. If you do, create Ravage, a legendary 3/3 black robot artifact creature token with menace and death touch. Whenever you cast a spell with an even mana value, convert Soundwave. If you do, create Laserbeak, a legendary 2/2 blue robot artifact creature token with flying and hexproof. So each of them are basically, well, evasive in different ways, right? One has flying, one can get through with, opponents that don't need flyers. One has menace, one can get through with opponents that, well, don't want to block it because it's got menace and death touch. So they have to commit, they have to commit 2 creatures to that to take it out. So each of those creature tokens can, of course, get through on many opponents. And yeah, when they do, of course, we get to take advantage of that trigger from the front side. And we very well might have multiple triggers from this as well, because again, like I mentioned, we're going to be working to get multiple copies out of this commander. But before we get into the tactics, let's talk about the price of this deck. Currently on Moxfield, it shows up as $29.19. So yeah, a pretty budget-friendly deck. Every single card in this deck is less than $1, except for, well, 2 of them, which are going to be the golden pigs of this deck, which I may or may not have already mentioned. We'll get to those here in a little bit, but they kind of make this deck work. So we'll get to those here in a second. That being said, even though those are outside of the budget, again, $29.19. Keep in mind that that cost does not include the cost of basic lands, which you might be able to get from your LGS, might be able to get from your friends, might be able to just buy in bulk for cheap. And it also does not include the cost of shipping, which might vary depending upon where you live. That being said, you might be able to save even more by buying this deck on TCG Player and utilizing heavily played and damaged cards, which of course need a home too, so make sure that you're optimized properly. Now, with all that said, though, let's jump into the tactics. And I'm sorry, wait for his bobble. This seems to keep happening lately, but we got to start off with the golden pigs of the deck to ensure that I can show you how exactly this deck works. So the first golden pig of this deck, and again, yeah, there are multiple, is Mirror Box. Now, Mirror Box is a fantastic card, one that is slightly outside of our budget at $1.23. Again, made an exception for this one though, to make sure we can make this deck actually work in the way that we want it to work. An artifact for 3 that says the legend rule doesn't apply to permanents you control. That is huge. That is massive. That lets us get around, well, the pesky thing about the legend rule, which is, hey, if you've got 2 of the same thing, they're legendary, you got to lose 1. And now we don't want to lose 1. We want multiple copies of our commander, so this lets us do that. It also says each legendary creature you control gets ++1, so that's nice. On top of that, each non-token creature you control gets ++1 for each other creature you control with the same name as that creature. That's nice too. What we really care about then, though, is that legendary rule doesn't apply, because now we can really break things with this deck. So we also are going to be running Mirror Gallery, the other golden pig of this deck. Now, technically, Mirror Box is better, but both work in essentially the exact same way, so that's why I let them share the golden pig title. Mirror Gallery is an artifact for 5. The legend rule doesn't apply. Again, we will take either one of these when it comes to, getting them out and getting things really going, because this one, sure, it doesn't, pump creatures. It doesn't, just help specifically us. It helps our opponents as well, potentially, if they've got any other legendaries that they can copy. But still, what matters is, we can get extra copies of our commander and copies of the tokens that it creates, which is huge. So yeah, these are definitely the golden pigs of this deck because they make this deck work. So now let's move on, and I'm sorry Wayfarer's Bobble made you wait. To attack number 2, rock and roll. And of course, first up, there's Wayfarer's Bauble. There we go. Pay 2 taps, sacrifice, go get a base land, in a play tap. Fantastic land ramp in any color. Then we've got Arcane Signet. Tap for any of our colors. That's pretty nice for 2 mana. Azorius Signet. I'm just going to go through the signets really quick. Azorius, Dimir, and we'll get to Orzhov here in a little bit as well. But yeah, basically, hey, pay 1 into them, tap for their guild's colors. Great and efficient and effective at, getting us the mana that we need. Moving on, we've got Felwar Stone. It can tap for any of our colors most of the time, depending on our opponent's land situation. Then there's Mind Stone. We can tap for a colorless. This won't help us mana fix, but it will help us ramp, and we can also pay 1 to tap and sacrifice to draw a card to replace itself, which is nice. Then there's Orzhov Signet. There we go. I told you we get there. Then we've got Talisman of Dominance, and then also Talisman of Hierarchy, both of which I'm very excited are budget. Pay 2 for this. It taps for a colorless. Tap for a green. Goodness gracious, where am I at in there? Tap for a white or a black. It deals 1 damage to us. Each of these are going to tap for 2 of our colors. Again, it might be a little bit painful, but we do start off at 40 life, so that is fine. And then finally, we've got Skyclave Relic. It is a flexible mana rock. Cost 3, it can tap for 1 mana of any color. It is indestructible, so kind of like, just an inefficient mana rock in a way, but one that is protected. But it's going to become more efficient when we play it later in the game because we can kick it for 3. It ETBs. If it was kicked, we create 2 tap tokens or copies of it, so we can utilize those token copies as well. Again, basically giving us half the mana amount back that we paid into it. So yeah, giving us 3 mana rocks for the price of, 6, but still, it's very effective, very efficient. Now that we've talked about ramping, though, let's talk about actually getting our plan into motion with tactic number 3, search for it. And of course, we need to search for Mirror Box and Mirror Gallery to make this deck work. Well, just one of them. And to start things off, let's talk about Oswald Fiddlebender. Now, many versions of Oswald are not budget friendly. This one is, though, at 55 cents, and it's fantastic. 2/2, Gnome Artificer for just 2 mana. Pay a white, tap, sacrifice an artifact. Search life for an artifact card with mana value equal to 1 plus sacrifice artifact's mana value. Put on the battlefield, then shuffle, activate as a sorcery. This is fantastic because, hey, Mirror Box costs, what, 3 mana? The other one, Mirror Gallery, costs 5. There are going to be some artifacts that we could sacrifice for that. But mostly, hey, you've got mana rocks, right? Many of them that just cost 2 mana. Sacrifice one of those. Go get your Mirror Box. There we go. And then, yeah. Get the exact artifact that you need for the situation that you're in. Most of the time, it's going to be one of our key pieces. Then we've got Perplex. This one's an interesting one. Counter target spell or discards their hand, and that is a big cost, so usually that's actually going to counter the spell. If not, though, hey, we can utilize this as a fantastic, uncounterable, essentially, tutor. Well, you can counter it, but it's got to be like a stifle effect, and there aren't too many of those. Transmute it for 1 blue, black. Discard it for 3 mana, essentially. Go get any card in your deck that costs 3, and of course, that includes Mirror Box. So there's that. Speaking of 3, there's Trophy Mage. Enters the battlefield, search life for any artifact that with converted mana costs 3. Put in your hand and shuffle. So again, go get your Mirror Box. Then there's Diebox here, can get us any of our cards in our deck for 4 mana. Brain Spoil, which again, like Perplex, is transmute, but transmute for our Mirror Gallery because it does cost 5. Or we can destroy a creature that is an enchanted, can be regenerated, so that's nice as well. Moving on, there's Final Parting. Go get 2 cards. 1 goes in our hand, 1 goes in our graveyard. There are ways to get things out of our graveyard and such, and cards actually want to be in our graveyard. So yeah, the other half can work. But again, most importantly, hey, go get the key piece that you need. Or we can get multiple things with listed shipment. Because Casualty for 3, search life for a card, put in your hand, then shuffle. So if we sacrifice a creature with power 3 or greater, we can double this up and get 2 things. And then finally, there's Razcast Right, basically a Diablock tutor for 1 more mana, or we can cycle away for a single black if we don't need that. So there you go. Moving on, though, we need to talk about some ways to double things up. So let's talk about tactic number 4, seeing double. And to start things off, let's talk about Tawnos Solemn Survivor. This one's quite interesting. Pay 2, tap, create tokens, copy of up to 1 target artifact token you control, mill 2 cards. So this one essentially will require you to already make a token of our commander if we need to. If we need to, utilize this then to copy, we can. Or this can make, copies of the tokens that our commander makes. That being said, of course, this also has pay 1 and then Esper colors, tap, sacrifice 2 artifact tokens, exile an artifact or creature card in your graveyard, create tokens, copy the exile card, except it's an artifact to other types, activate on sorcery. So if we want to get risky, we can put our commander in our graveyard and do this. Moving on, Cackling Counterpart, very efficient, very effective, 3 mana, instant speed, copy a creature we control. Yeah, make a creature token copy of it, that's lovely. Also can flash it back, so again, once we get Mirror Box in play or Mirror Gallery, make a copy of your commander, have fun with that. And I should mention, I probably should mention this earlier, there's an update to the actual, transform rules and that kind of stuff that happened recently with copies. A copied card of a transform card also can transform to the backside. Now, I can't remember the exact number. I'll try to remember to put the, the rule number in the description below Future Mitch, try to remember that. Anyways, moving on, we've got Endless Evil. This one's quite fun. Enchanted creature control at the beginning of your upkeep. You get a token that's copy of enchanted creature, except say 1/1. And when the enchanted creature dies, if that creature is a horror, return it from its hand. Our commander is not that, so that doesn't matter. What matters is a repeatable way to make more and more token copies of our commander. Sure, they're just 1/1s, but again, we get extra token copies. We get those effects more and more. Moving on, Fate Infatuation. You get a token that's a copy of any creature on the battlefield, any creature you control, and also if it's your turn, scry 2. So again, some extra card selection out of that if we do that. Next up, March of Progress. This one's quite funny. Choose target artifact creature you control for each creature chosen this way, create a copy of it. So essentially for 3 mana, make 1 copy. You make 1 copy of an artifact creature that includes our commander, of course, but if we overload this for 7 mana, double up every single one of our artifact creatures, so that can be quite crazy. Next up, there's Nesting Dovehawk. So glad this one's budget right now. 2/2 flyer at the beginning of combat of your turn, populate. And populating is, hey, get an extra token copy of a token you control, a creature token you control. So yeah, if we already have a token copy of our commander, make another one. And again, this happens every single combat. And on top of that, when we're making creature tokens, this gets bigger and bigger and bigger. A +1 counter on it for every single time that happens. Next up, there's Nightmare Shepherd. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you can exile it. If you do, create a token's copy of that creature, except say 1/1 Nightmare. There you go. So yeah, another way to make extra copies of your commander if your commander is dealt with. Speaking of which, Radrabik of Urborg. Vigilance Ward 2, other zombies you control Vigilance. This is not zombie tribal. That being said, whenever another legendary creature you control dies, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's not legendary. It's a 2/2 black zombie, just other colors and types. Again, a kind of another way to kind of also mirror box with this too. So yeah, if your commander dies, you can, have an extra copy of it that isn't legendary. So then you can make token copies of that also are not legendary. So keep that in mind. Then we've got Vizier Many Faces. Now this one doesn't make a token copy. This one can just be a regular copy, but we also can make a token copy when this is in our graveyard, because we can have it in the battlefield as it's basically a clone. We can enter the battlefield as any copy of any creature, but if we embalm it by exiling out of our graveyard, we get it as a zombie essentially as well. Moving on, replication technique. Multiple copies in one. Demonstrate, so we can have another player copy this spell. We can make some political deals with this, which can be fantastic. Create token this copy target permanent you control. When we have it demonstrated, we also get another copy of this to do it twice, which can just be crazy. Zindersplint's Judgment, another 5-mana clone spell, but in a different way. For each player, choose friend or foe. Each friend creates a token of a creature they control. Each foe returns a creature back to their hand. So either bounce or copy. We get to choose. Again, we can politically, wheel and deal with this. We can say, hey, you want to be my buddy? If you don't want to be my buddy, I'm going to have you bounce creature. If you want to be my buddy, I can get you a copy of one of your creatures. Well, it's getting a copy of one of my own. Next up, Celia's Artistry. Choose one or both. Create tokens copy of target artifact. Or create tokens copy of target creature, except it's an artifact. We can do this twice to the thing that we care about most, our commander. And then finally, there's Stolen Identity, a repeatable clone spell. Create tokens copy target artifact or creature, and it's got Cipher. So essentially, when we cast it, we can exile it onto a creature. When that creature hits another player, we can copy that spell and cast it for free. Yeah, again, we've got evasive creatures. We've got ways to make creatures evasive. We can get this copy multiple times throughout the game. Next up, when it comes to make our creatures more deadly and more evasive, let's go into attack number 5, Pump It Up. And to start things off, again, we've got a lot of creature tokens. So, hey, Intangible Virtue, you're a great card in this deck. Creature tokens you control, get +1 to have vigilance. Makes them harder to block, makes them also be able to swing and stay back in combat as well, which is great for us. Next up, Dirge of the Dead. This one's very interesting. Dirge of the Dread. There we go. All creatures gain fear until end of turn. We can also cycle away for 1 to black. When you cycle it, you may have target creature gain fear until end of turn. Again, fear means that they can't be blocked except by artifact creatures and or black creatures. So if our opponents don't have those, yeah, we can get through on them. Or at least we can get through on one opponent to utilize, again, the cards out of their graveyard when we are hitting with our token creatures. Moving on, there's Levitation, a fantastic card. Creature control flying. Very simple, very effective. A way to say, you know what? Now our Soundwave can get through, one of our tokens get through, the other one already had flying, but still, a way to be fantastically evasive against our opponents. And again, a lot of the time, that's going to be enough to get through. Moving on, essentially unblockability, but not quite. Archetype Imagination, creature control flying, so again, a great way to get through. And on top of that, creature's opponent control, lose flying, can have or gain flying. So essentially, our flyers are nearly unblockable. Essentially, reach is the only way that can block them. Our opponents have reach, they can still block our creatures, but if they don't, yeah, your creatures are unblockable. Get through all the time. Now, we're going to be in a good position, but we want to make sure that we can protect our position. So let's move on to tactic number 6, which I am calling Tough Stuff. And we're going to be starting things off with a fantastic card with Lawrence Escape. An instant for just a single white mana. Target artifact or creature gains hexproof and indestructible on turn, scry 1. Hexproof is a great way to protect from any targeted spells or abilities. Indestructible protects from most destroy effects. And this is going to be able to say, you know what? My creature is fine. My artifact is fine. Whatever I want to protect is fine. It's probably going to be your commander in most circumstances. But yeah, this is going to be a great card. Or actually, I should say Mirror Box, Mirror Gallery as well. Those are artifacts, obviously, that can be protected. Next up, we've got Negate, counter target non-creature spell. The vast majority of spells we want to counter in commander are probably going to be non-creature. So again, a great way to protect one of our things. Selfless Spirit. A great evasive creature, 2/1 flyer that says sacrifice creature control indestructible on turn. We can actually make extra token copies of this if we really want to protect our board. If we've got things going well, if we've got enough token copies of our commander, be like, you know what? Let's make token copies of this. It's evasive, and again, you can sacrifice it in a pinch. Then we've got Rootborn Defenses, another way to protect our team. Creature control gain indestructible on of turn. On top of that, populate. Again, get an extra copy of whatever creature token you want, including your commander if you got one. Then we've got your Temples under attack. Again, very flexible. Pray for protection. Creature control get indestructible on turn. That's nice. Again, for 3 mana, protect your entire team. That can be huge and game changing. Or strike a deal. You and target opponent each draw 2 cards. So again, be politicking. Just be like, hey, let's be buddies for now. Okay, let's each draw some cards. If I need to dig deeper, you can as well. Then we've got Invasion of Tolvada. This one's a great way to bring things back. When it enters the battlefield, return target non-battle permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's nice. Because, hey, if someone deals with Mirror Box or Mirror Gallery, get it right back. On top of that, when it flips, creature tokens you control get +1/+0 and have lifelink at the beginning of your end step. You get a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. Absolutely lovely for this kind of a deck. And then finally, there's Mystic Confluence. Choose 3, you can choose the same mode more than once. Counter a spell unless they pay 3. Bounce a creature or draw a card. Yeah, this can be very flexible, very efficient. It can be removal, can be a counter spell, it can be a way to dig deeper into your deck, whatever you need for the situation that you're in. And speaking of digging deeper into your deck, let's move on to attack number 7. Think about things. Anyone else watch Eurovision? No, just me. Okay, anyways, Military Intelligence is a great card for this deck, and enchantment for 1 in a blue. We're going to be aggressive. We're going to be attacking. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. We're going to meet that requirement a lot. Moving on, Open End of Wonder. XR creatures are unblockable, and whenever they deal combination to a player, we draw a card. So extra value for getting through with our creatures, and again, a way to get them through on our opponents. Then there's Pull for Tomorrow. Great instant speed X draw spell. Draw X cards for X blue blue. Discard 1 single card, so dig deeper into your deck. Then there's Sign in Blood, just 2 mana. Target player draws 2, loses 2. Can be a really funny way to finish someone off if they're at 2 or less life, or it can just be a way for us to dig deeper into our deck, most likely. Then there's Painful Truce, a fantastic card for any deck essentially that has 3 or more colors for the most part. Hey, draw 3, lose 3, a price that I'll pay any day of the week. I mean, I guess I should say you need to spend Esper colors to actually do this, but still, there you go. Then there's Read the Bones. Scry 2, draw 2, lose 2 again. 2 life is absolutely nothing. You surf at 40 life. Great card advantage, great card selection with this one. And then there's Factor Fiction. Let your opponents do the card selection for you in a way. Reveal the top 5. They separate into 2 piles. You pick one of the piles. The other goes in your graveyard. Again, a great way to dig deeper into your deck. And then there's Reconnaissance Mission. We're going to be hitting our opponents a lot, and this can really benefit us for doing so. Or we can cycle away, but more likely we're going to play it. Whenever a creature control deals counter to a player, you draw a card. Now you can really take advantage of your creatures getting through and draw an absurd amount of cards throughout the game. Moving on, Thought for Spy Network. At the beginning of your upkeep, you control an artifact, you get a 1/1. We're going to actually do that a lot. And also, they say 1/1 flyer. Whenever one of our artifact creatures you control deal combination to a player, draw a card. So, yeah, draw a good amount of cards out throughout the game with this as well. I mean, basically, if you've got some evasive creatures and get through on each opponent, that's going to be 3 cards each turn, which can be huge. And finally, Deep Fathom Skulker, basically another reconnaissance mission in a way. Whenever a creature control deals combination to a player, you may draw a card. You can also pay 3 in a color to make a creature unblockable. Regardless, yeah, draw a bunch of cards throughout the game with this. Now that we talked about our tactics, though, our ways to make this deck work, let's talk about tactic number 8, which I'm calling Broken Pieces. Ways to maybe throw a wrench into our opponent's plans. So we're going to start things off with, well, a very flexible and fantastic card, Alchemist Retrieval. For just a single blue mana, we can protect one of our cards. Again, like Mirror Box, if we really need to. Panic Button, hey, get it back out of here. Get it back into our hand. Bounce it back to your hand. Or, hey, for 2 mana, bounce any of your opponent's non-land permanents back to their hand. Then we've got D-Spark, exile something big, something that's got mana value 4 or greater. Then there's Imprison in the Moon. This is a great way to temporarily or permanently get rid of a commander because, hey, enchanted creature, land, or planeswalker, it becomes a land that taps for a colorless, loses all their card types and abilities. So if an opponent doesn't have a way to get rid of this enchantment, they're going to be out of luck. Then there's Crush Contraband. Exile 2 things. They're going to be an artifact and enchantment. Goodbye. Then there's Aether Gale. 5 mana, bounce 6 non-land permanents that you don't like. Then we've got Cleansing Nova. Choose one to destroy all artifacts, destroy all enchantments, and, destroy all creatures, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Those are your 2 options. So whatever situation that you need, do that. Then there's Austere Commit, very flexible. Destroy all artifacts, enchantments, big creatures, small creatures, whatever you need, utilize it in the best way. And then finally, there's Hour of Reckoning, a fantastic card in this deck. Convoke. So you can cast it for a lot cheaper than 7 mana, potentially even free. Destroy all non-token creatures. Again, we're going to have an absurd amount of token creatures, and we're going to be able to just basically have a one-sided board wipe with something like this, which can be absolutely fantastic. But yeah, that's the deck. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you, enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoy the build. And yeah, if you are interested in this deck, in that build, make sure you check out that card list link, the deck list link in the description below. Comment below your thoughts on this one. I think it's a really fun one. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.